Station wagons in the 80s were a hot commodity. America offered gargantuan wagons like the Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser and Ford Crown Victoria, and Japan offered wagons like the Toyota Camry and the Honda Accord, which were newly established. But if your family was looking for something a little bit more plush and opulent to roll the kids around in, boy do I have something for you. 1989 Mercedes-Benz 300 TE. Mercedes-Benz has been making wagons since the 1970s, and they first started out with the mass-produced S123 generation. It was first introduced at the Frankfurt Motor Show back in 1977. Previously, before the S123, Mercedes partnered with several different aftermarket companies to custom make station wagons. The S123 estate was first sold for the 1978 model year, and it was an instant success for being known as a stealth wealth vehicle. The late 80s into the 90s brought us the 124 generation of Mercedes. This one, since it's a wagon, is known as an S124. This S124 in particular belongs to my friend Ben. It's an 89 300 TE painted in pearl gray metallic. And even after 34 years, this thing still gleams on a sunny day. This one also has some factory options added on as well, such as the rear-facing third row seat, the moonroof, and roof rails. The original MSRP of this wagon in particular back in '89 was $51,000 $390, which is about $125,000 today. That's 3 times an Oldsmobile custom cruiser back in the day. Unfortunately, Mercedes doesn't offer a regular version of the E-Class wagon for the United States. We only get the all-terrain E-Class and also the E63 AMG. No in between. Back in '89, the 300 TEs only used one inline 6-cylinder powertrain. So my friends, behold the M103. It's a 3-liter single overhead cam inline 6. This one makes 177 horsepower and 188 pound-feet of torque. These use a 4-speed automatic transmission, and this one is only rear-wheel drive, but you could option for Matic all-wheel drive. Well, at the time it was more of a 4-wheel drive system. I have a whole video on 124s and 4MATIC, but they use a mechanical center and rear locking differential. At the time, Mercedes-Benz quoted 16 miles per gallon in the city and 18 on the highway. Now, those aren't extravagant numbers nowadays, but for the time, that wasn't that bad, especially considering Vista Cruisers, Crown Vics, Caprices all used huge V8s that made about the same power of this and made even less, well, gave you even less MPGs. 124s in the US could only get one wheel option. These 15-inch alloy wheels, also known as Gullydeckel. And I just learned that Gullydeckel means manhole cover in German. Kind of looks like one, huh? Of course, being an estate, it's an extremely practical vehicle. You have the roof rack to put your luggage on top and have it fly off, but also there's gobs of room in the trunk of these. This even seems a little bit bigger than my 04 S211 wagon. This has up to 42 cubic feet of volume with the second row seat folded up, which is insane, and then up to 77 cubic feet of volume with the second row folded down. For '89, that's crazy for something being this small, because of course those big wagons had so much room. Those are like apartments. So these have hydraulic rear suspension, which is interesting on its own to haul heavy loads, but also you can haul people in the back of this as well. This is a bit of a party trick. These have optional third row seats that fold away so you can watch people. I'm taking off my shoes to keep this clean, but wow, this is actually more okay. So I've sat in my 211 wagon. This is actually more roomy. Of course, I'm 5'9". Headroom isn't that vast, but my hair is just barely brushing up against the roof. But I actually have a lot of leg room back here. With the trunk closed, this seems really big. Of course, this doesn't have a power tailgate, but it does have something that's pretty impressive for '89. A soft closed tailgate. Now, something impressive about these, because we have to get this thing turned around anyway, is the turning radius. I hope it shows on camera, but it's actually pretty tight. And the front wheels kind of bow a bit. Wow, it turned in front of the camera. That's impressive. That's cool. So if you were a young child in 1989, this is where you'd reside. First of all, the rear doors open surprisingly far. The doors close with like a bank vault-like thud. Everything like up top, all the materials feel great. The seats in these are very spongy as well, but in a great way. They're not supportive, of course. This isn't a sporty car, but I'm actually very comfortable. My knees are a little bit high up, but that's just things with older cars. Headroom is pretty good. Like I said, I'm 5'9". My knees don't touch the back of the seat as well. There's these nice indentations in it, and my feet do fit under the seat as well. There's no third zone for the climate, and I don't see any air vents in the back either, but 1989, I wouldn't expect that. No center armrest, but seriously, this thing feels, I could sit in the back of this all day. I can't spend forever in the back seat though, because we still have to drive this. But let's talk about the interior. This has the black leather interior. It's perforated as well. They're full power for the driver's seat and the passenger seat. But here's the key to this wonderful steed. And also some more nostalgia. Of course, this has a 4-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel. There's no buttons on the wheel, of course, but the horn. Interesting horn. If you're used to Japanese cars and pretty much everything else, Mercedes puts their controls a little bit differently. But it's interesting, it's similar to my W211. The cruise control stalk is up here, the wipers are down here with the turn signals, the headlight controls are on the dash, everything is nicely laid out. I really like the interior of this, how simple it is. The gauges look great, especially for being this age as well. There isn't any screen in it, but there is a digital thermometer, 85 degrees. Yeah, it feels like that. But the rest of the interior is extremely welcoming. All the materials that you feel are soft touch. This car really feels like it was built well now, and I'm sure it feels just like a brand new car back in '89. There's no infotainment, thankfully, but all the wood in here looks brand new. It's gorgeous. I love the color of it, and it's real wood as well. The climate control is single zone, but it is automatic. But there's just a little row of buttons on top here. Very simple interior. That's what I like about these older cars. This one has an aftermarket radio in it with Bluetooth and such, but there's also an ashtray with the cigarette lighter. Even putting the car in gear is a buttery smooth and streamlined process. Just everything feels so tight still. The window controls are down below the shifter, which is interesting. Also the power mirrors as well. So after driving this, I've kind of learned how this car drives a bit. It's slow from the start, but really once it gets going, once it catches momentum, it's not bad. It's just like any other car. And I have to put myself into perspective that this is 1989. I don't really know how 1989 wagons, like the Vista Cruiser and the Crown Vic, I don't know how those were. Even the 240. So I'm sure this is pretty par for the course back in the day as well. But power comes down pretty smooth. The engine isn't loud at all. So just like in my W211, when you're in comfort mode, but this one just does it by default, you start off in second gear, unless if you're full throttle from a stop. The light's already red, but in the W211s, if you put it in sport, it'll start in first. But it's just interesting. The same way, the way the transmission acts in this one is similar to mine. So of course, this is not the fastest car in the world, but let me kick down. Wow. Like, it gets out of its own way, to merge onto the highway. If you really put your foot all the way down, the car will move. It just takes a lot of telling the car to do so in the pedal. Not like the car is lethargic, 170 horsepower, lethargic, but the throttle itself is actually pretty responsive. As you just gradually give it more throttle, it doesn't kick down. sure that's because of the smoothness of it. And it is a 4-speed, so the gears are a little bit longer. At highway speeds, this is actually pretty quiet and composed, especially for being a 34-year-old car. It's amazing to me how well engineered this is. I'm cruising at 75, 80, and it is so smooth. Of course, compared to a new Mercedes wagon or even mine, it is a little bit louder just in terms of wind noise and road noise, but it's still very quiet compared to a lot of other cars, especially back in the day. You know, driving your 87 Corolla, this is real quiet and it glides. The seats also add into it because, like I said, they're a little bit spongy. You don't notice it, but the seats absorb a lot of the bumps as well. This is such a comfortable car. Of course, a Nissan going slow in the left lane. Spending time with this 124 makes me want to spend time with my Mercedes again. I really love these older Benz because they just feel like tanks. They drive like tanks. They feel like they're so well built. But I hope you guys enjoyed getting up close and personal with this 89 300 TE wagon with me today. If you're interested in owning this particular 300 TE, you're in luck because this one is actually for sale. If you're interested, let me know in the comments below, or my email will be in the description. But thank you all for watching this video. I'm competing with this garbage truck right now, but thank you for spending time with me watching this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, peeps.